It's Reezy, owner of the RZN Sports Network, reporting live from the RZN Sports Center, and today we'll be reviewing week 4 in the college football season. We'll be looking at the top 25 teams, the Heisman Watch, the conference standings, and much more, so stay tuned. Let's see this week's AP Top 25 rankings. The Clemson Tigers sit at number 1. They were number 1 last week. The number 1 team in the nation, they won a natty last year. USC is still at number 2. They're 4-0. They defeated Northwestern. Michigan's at 3. They defeated Notre Dame last week. Texas A&M is at 4. They defeated Arkansas. They were the runner-up for the national champion last year. Alabama sitting at 4-1. They're number 5. They defeated Virginia Tech 35-23. Texas is at number 6. They defeated LSU last week 42-14. Oklahoma is at 7. They defeated Mississippi State 45-17. Ole Miss is at 8. They defeated North Texas 52-21. Spanked them. Michigan State is at 9. Didn't play anybody last week, but they played Purdue this week. Auburn still in the top 10 even though they have 2 losses. They spanked Charlotte last week. This game is still on the channel right now. Stanford's at number 11. Wake Forest, who they defeated last week, they play Clemson this week. Penn State is at 12. They defeated Oregon in a shootout. They play Washington this week. Georgia Tech is at 13. Took that L to Clemson, but didn't really drop that much. NC State at 14 after losing to Cal last week. They're 3-1 on the season. They play Duke. Miami sitting at number 15. Top 25 matchup between UVA. Can't wait to see that. Javier Rodriguez. Louisville is at 16. Mizzou is at 17. They play Arkansas this week. They defeated Georgia last week 24-23. Army, even though they have 1 loss, they play against Tulsa this week. They're still in the top 25. Cal, number 19 after defeating North Carolina State in the upset. Maryland cracks the top 25 for their first time. They defeated Washington last week. Virginia is at 21. They defeated Georgia State. They play against Miami this week. Washington's at 22 after taking that loss in overtime to Maryland. They play against Penn State this week. LSU is at 23 after losing to Texas. They got spanked. Arkansas is at 24. They lost to Texas A&M overtime matchup, and Appalachian State's at 25, the last team in the rankings. Now, let's go look at the Heisman rankings. There aren't that many subscribers to the channel in the Heisman race right now, but I fully expect some guys to creep into the conversation later on in the season. At Alabama, you have Brent Washington sitting at the number 1 spot. Had a great game last week. So far throughout the season, 91 carries, 601 yards, 6.6 yards per carry, 120 rushing yards per game. He's doing his thing. Jalen Moore, a subscriber to the channel, sits in at number 2. 465 on the ground, 116 yards per game, 7 rushing touchdowns. Some reason I didn't pull up the receiving stats, but he's still producing through the air. Next, we got Travis Crooks from the SEC, another SEC player, Ole Miss. 719 rushing yards, 8.5 yards per carry, 143 rushing yards per game. Dada Fisher, another SEC player, and he's in the Heisman race even after throwing 14 interceptions already this year. Why? Because he's averaging 411 yards per game through the air. Dada Fisher has some inconsistencies throughout his game, but he's definitely producing. The Patreon member has a lot of talent. Hopefully he can refine his game in the future and become an All-American quarterback. He's definitely on the right track though. Randall Langford, the last guy on this list, 289 rushing yards, 8 rushing touchdowns, 5.5 yards per carry. I really think he's in the Heisman race because of his touchdowns. I don't think he'll be in this race for much longer throughout this season. Now let's go over to ESPN.com where we'll take a look at the conference standings and we'll take a look at the player set so far this year. Virginia's the number 1 team in the ACC so far. Louisville's 4-0, Clemson, then we have North Carolina, Boston College, Cal, Stanford, Miami, Georgia Tech, Florida State, Duke, NC State, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, Pittsburgh, SMU, Syracuse. 2 teams that are 0-4 in the conference. Now, we go over to the American Conference. We got FAU at 1, then we got Tulane, Navy, UAB, Army, Memphis, USF, North Texas, Charlotte, Tulsa, Rice, UTSA, Temple, and now let's take a look at the Big 12 standings. BYU is sitting at number 1, then we got Kansas, Kansas State, TCU, Central Florida, Cincinnati, Colorado, Houston, Texas Tech, Utah, Baylor, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Arizona, West Virginia, all the way at the bottom. Next, we take a look at the Big Ten standings. Michigan at number 1, Maryland at number 2, surprising. Then we got USC, Illinois, Penn State, UCLA, Oregon, Indiana, Ohio State, Minnesota, Washington. Then we got Michigan State, Rutgers, Wisconsin, Purdue, Nebraska, Northwestern, and Iowa at the bottom, 0-3, 0-1 in the conference so far. Conference USA, not too much. East Carolina, Louisiana Tech, UTEP, and Middle Tennessee State. Let's go to the MAC, where we have Kent State at 1. Then we have Bowling Green, Western Michigan, Eastern Michigan, Miami, Ohio, Toledo, Georgia Southern, Akron, Central Michigan, Northern Illinois, Ball State, Buffalo, Ohio. And that'll do it for the MAC. Let's go over to the Mountain West Conference. We have San Jose State, then Utah State, then Air Force, Fresno State, UNLV, Nevada, Boise State, Hawaii, San Diego State, Wyoming, Colorado State, New Mexico. Now let's go to the Pac-12 or the Pac-2, whatever you want to call it. Oregon State at 1, Washington State at 2. Not the real rankings right there, because it's 2 teams in the conference. The SEC, the best conference in college football. OU, then Texas, Texas A&M, Mizzou, Alabama, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Vandy, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Arkansas, LSU, Mississippi State, South Carolina, and that's it. All the way at the bottom, South Carolina for the 3rd year in a row. They trash. Coastal Carolina at 1 for the Sun Belt, then App State, Arkansas State, Old Dominion, Marshall, Western Kentucky, Troy, Southern Miss, Louisiana Lafayette, Texas State, James Madison, ULM, South Alabama, Georgia State. Now let's take a look at the player stats, starting off with passing. Just remember, anybody with a period next to their name means that they are a subscriber to the channel, and anybody with an apostrophe next to their name means that they are a Patreon member. Zach Beard is the first subscriber. 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Pretty impressive for him. Debo Moten as a true freshman, 9 touchdowns, no picks, 73% completion percentage. And you see Marco Lombardi. Colin Dunn, the true freshman, was teammates with Cato Hendricks. Micah Glick, Ryan Glick's younger brother, even though he has 11 picks, still putting up 402 passing yards per game. Nipsey Obama, Noah Oswald, Justin Holloway Jr., CJ Johnson, another freshman, Dada Fisher, Javier Rodriguez, the Patreon member. Just a lot of great players here at the quarterback position. Another one with Chance High. I can't rattle off all the names for all of these quarterbacks, so y'all can pause the video when y'all want to see your stats. I'll be back when the rushing leaders appear. The leading rusher in college football so far is a guy that plays for a service academy. What would you expect? An Air Force guy. First subscriber to the channel though is Miguel Alvarado from Stanford. Next one is Troy Carter from UNC, 483, 7 touchdowns. Jalen Moore, 465 for 7 touchdowns. Mike Green from Houston, 436, 5.3 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns. Then we got Nate Servers. Like I said earlier, I'll be back when the receiving leaders pop up. The receiving leaders, let's sort these guys by receiving yards. I won't go over all of them, but we'll talk about some of these guys. You already see 3 Auburn wide receivers in here. Them guys are eating in the passing game. Demetrius Reese Jr., first subscriber to the channel. We see Josh Marshall for Kentucky. Straight up dog. I remember covering him at high school. He went to Archbishop Moeller High School in Cincinnati. Bobby Raven, a Patreon member, 406 yards on the season. Tony Dimes, my #1 wide receiver in this draft class. Brother of LaRon Dimes, Kiera Dimes, AJ Dimes, the whole Dimes family. Gavin Dulworth, a tight end up there. Julio DeLeon up there as well. Amari Villone, 355 on the season, 4 touchdowns. He's a dog. Daquan Rice, who's Andrew Rice's cousin, grew up with him, played against him last season. Kendrick Jefferson. And like I said earlier, anybody with a period next to their name means that they are a subscriber to the channel. Anybody with an apostrophe next to their name means that they are a Patreon member. The only subscriber dominating in the blocking game is Peyton Reeder, the junior from Alabama. 21 pancakes on the season, even though he's given up 3 sacks. Colton Watson, though, on the other hand, 17 pancakes, no sacks allowed for Arkansas. Went to Bryant High School in Arkansas. Subscriber to the channel, straight up dog. Now let's take a look at some defensive stats. I think we're gonna start off with the sack leaders. Yep, Stan Amory, #1, 8 sacks on the season, 20 solo tackles, 17 TFLs. Then we got Tony Tacos with 5 sacks for LSU. Great start of the season for him. Kaiser Parker. Scroll some more. Let's try to see if we can find some more subscribers. Trey Johnson, 3.5 sacks. Now, if we look at the interception leaders, Brian Massey, subscriber to the channel. I remember him when he was playing in high school, Texas high school football. He was a straight up dog. 4 interceptions on the season, pretty impressive. Jeremiah Johnson, another subscriber, as a strong safety with 3 picks on the season. Marion Anthony from USC, y'all see him. We got some good DBs that are subscribers. Mark Sanders, another one. 2 interceptions on the season, nothing too crazy. Blake Allen, 2 interceptions. Brandon Childs, he has 2 interceptions. After we look at these interceptions, we'll move on, probably wrap up the video. Thank y'all for tuning in. Watch me recap week 4 of the 30-21 college football season. Just to let y'all know, if y'all want to be featured in these type of videos, if you want to be in the universe, see your stats, see you play some games, eventually try to get to the NFL, then please watch this video right here. You can be a character in the RZN Sports Network universe. We make content for high school, college, and the pros. You can submit a form. The link will be in the description. However, if you sign up with Patreon, you'll have a lot more customization and control over your character. The link will be in the description. You can also view your player's season and career stats online. The link will be in the description. I also added a social media feature for the universe to be more immersive. The link to that video will also be in the description. If you don't have Patreon but you still want to be featured on the channel more, then make sure you're active in the comment section. You being consistently active reminds me to put you on the channel in some way. When you submit a form, your character will be put in the universe. You can see yourself in a live stream or video when teams play, but it's highly unlikely that you'll see me controlling your player throughout a game if you don't have Patreon. Signing up with Patreon gives you control over attributes, accessories, gives you a GTA face, control over your backstory, and you'll be one of the best players in the universe. But it's Reezy, owner of the RZN Sports Network. Make sure y'all like the video, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you click on the post notification bell too. Also, if you want to see similar videos to this, then please watch this video right here.